Live from Orion Shine Studios, located behind the train tracks off of West 4th Avenue, it's time once again for the Brony Bookclub, with Samuel Gronseth, Casey Barsodi, Roy the Maniac Hankins, and our special guest, TheyCallMeJub. It has been, I don't have an exact count.
A long freaking time.
About 8 months.
Yeah, so a long freaking time.
We're very sorry. Some stuff's happened in the meantime. Sam has gotten married.
Yay!
And he's moved away, for which we hate him.
Aww.
Yes.
This lovely lady, the first female person to be on the podcast, is, you might have heard her laughing in the last episode that was released 8 months ago. That is my fiance, Casey Barsodi.
Yay.
And, see, that stuff happened. My dad went to Alaska. It was a thing, you know. Stuff happens.
First girl on the podcast? Wow, that's...
Well, Casey...
Wait, no girl authors?
No, we've
Brony fanfiction needs more gender diversity. Oh, no, you know what? We kind of had K-Cat.
But she wasn't on the show.
Yeah, we just had an interview that I read, I guess, so maybe we had half a girl on the show, I guess. I don't know, whatever.
Alright, so, everyone feeling good? Let's do this. Starting off, Casey and Jub. It's time you both get asked the questions we ask every guest who is on the show. Are you both ready?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm ready to shoot.
Alright, first, what is your favorite tag on FemFiction? Casey, go.
No, ask Jub because he's the guest.
Okay, just you first.
Alright, my favorite tag, it's gotta be dark.
Gotta be dark?
It's just
that
the
makes
one
sense.
That does not surprise me at all.
This is on my pick. And, yeah, it's gotta be dark. And maybe, like, romance as a close second.
Casey, what about you?
I'm more partial to romance stories anyway, so romance, but I also like to laugh, so comedy. But, Pagliacci is my favorite story on FemFiction right now, so, yeah. So I would say dark.
What's your favorite story? Be serious, what's your favorite?
No, Pagliacci is my favorite. Ask Roy. Like, he showed it to me, and I got so into it.
Yeah, and that's why she's on the podcast.
Yes. I was like, I have to be on this podcast.
And now she's coming to be. Anyway, so next, starting with Jub, what's your least favorite tag on FemFiction?
I hate to be that guy, but comedy. I don't read comedies. For me, comedy is like a visual. It's like I like stand-up comedy. I like funny movies, but I don't know. I don't read it. You know.
But the whole show is a comedy.
How can you
not like comedy?
I'm going to give you a virtual high five right now because I mean I like comedy, but I prefer a serious story more often than not. So I'm okay with this.
I don't know. Like if I'm reading a book, it's like I take it more seriously. Like if it's a movie or something, that's cool. But like I don't know. I don't read comedy. I just don't.
I suppose I don't as well, but I read comedy when it's like fan fiction or on FemFiction. I
do think that as its nature, comedy has a different by necessity. It doesn't. Different forms of comedy work differently in different mediums, and on the written word, like pretty much the only comedy that really works is like satire and like really dry humor. It's basically the only thing that survives on the written page. Sadly, you can't really write like slapstick. Like that's
right.
It's like, and then he hit the other guy in the head, and he was really pain.
Man, if someone does a book
so
adaptation,
awkward to read.
Someone needs to write a book based on the Three Stooges, just to try. I don't even know how that would work.
All right, Casey, what's your least favorite tag on the FemFiction?
I know which tags I would not read.
That's your least favorite, then?
Probably the human or anthro, just because I'm not into that with the ponies. But also, slice of life is always super boring.
Another one that Roy will disagree with, but that I am happy to join you on.
Yay, virtual high five.
I'm so sad and alone.
I will read, like, slice of life manga, but I
Roy's
can't.
made me read a lot of slice of life for this show, and I've actually enjoyed the ones that I've read for the show, but generally speaking, yeah.
One day we'll have Life is a Lemon for this show, and I'll get Sam to cry from a slice of life.
Oh, well, that happens with slice of life anime already, but if you think that's a big accomplishment, feel free.
Did you think of the same
story.
slice of life anime as I did? Samuel?
I thought of a few of them, but I'm guessing you're thinking of Clannad.
Clannad, yes. That's
Clannad's amazing, though. I love Clannad.
Yeah, no, that's freaking...
That's Samuel's favorite anime.
That's the best heartbreak I've ever had.
I love tragedy.
And next is, starting with Jub, what is your favorite aspect of Pagliacci?
My favorite aspect of Pog? Wow. It's kind of a weird question to ask authors because we usually hate our work. Like, and that's what people say. Oh, it's so this, it's so... I don't know. What I like about Pog is I like how big it is. Because normally I write very small stories that feature like one or two characters going through their drama, but Pog is the biggest thing I've ever written. Because you have like, I think it's split up into 4 or 5 gangs, and everyone's vying for their piece of Manhattan, and it's almost like a fantasy epic, but as a crime drama.
It's like Game of Thrones.
Yeah, it's got that Game of Thrones.
Batman.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's what I like about it. It was a challenge for me too, because like I said, I usually don't do stuff like that. So yeah.
All right then, Casey. What's your favorite aspect of Pagliacci?
Truthfully, everything. I'm serious. This is my favorite story on Fanfiction. Okay.
Like, that's what I'm doing.
I love how Pinkie Pie is Pinkie Pie, but she scares me so much as the prankster. And I don't know what else to say. It's just good.
Okay. Jub, how did you get the idea for Pagliacci?
Oh no. Pagliacci is actually pretty much point blank period stolen, like they could sue me stolen from a comic book called Joker. It's by Brian Oliverio. He wrote a story that's just about Joker, and it's told from the perspective of one of Joker's minions, or his henchmen, I guess. And so, like, literally the first, I think, 2 chapters of Pagliacci are just completely ripped from that story. And then the rest of it I branched out and I did my own thing. But yeah, you should look, I don't know if you're into comics or not, but if you are, you should look up Brian Oliverio's Joker.
I've actually heard of that. It's actually funny because the same person who did that, I believe, is the one who did Lex Luthor, Man of Steel.
Yes.
Which I've read that, and I love Lex Luthor, Man of Steel. Like, I thought that was a fantastic comic. And I've heard of Joker, and I really, really want to read it. I still haven't found, like, a good copy. But if I can find one, I will just read it to death. Because...
Well, I mean, I read everything by Oliverio. I mean, like, as far as inspiration goes, I'm pretty...
Oh, Kirsten has this. My sister has this.
What? Okay.
Yeah.
I need to borrow it.
That's awesome.
Yes. Oh,
I was like, I think, is that the comic book I'm thinking of? My sister is a huge Batman fan.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
And her favorite villain is the Joker. So.
Okay, then. Jub, who are some of your favorite professional authors? Like, published professional authors?
Gaiman. Neil Gaiman is the only guy who I'll read fantasy. Well, I guess Martin, too. Martin, yeah. But I love Neil Gaiman. I was reading Neil Gaiman before I found Martin, because I'm not into fantasy at all. But Gaiman, I don't know, he does it in a way that just works for me, so I like his stuff. I love King. I only just started reading Stephen King a few months ago, and I read his book on writing, and that, like, was a game changer for me. It changed it changed my approach to storytelling, I guess you could say. So yeah, I love King. Who else? If we're not talking about novels, just storytellers in general.
Yeah.
Frank Miller. If you read again, like, you know, because I'm the kind of guy, I believe, like, when you're learning, you should just steal from stuff you like, and, you know, don't worry about trying to innovate or even be original. Just borrow and tweak, you know. And so, like, if you read Eyes Without a Face, my first story on film, it's like stolen from Frank Miller. Like my whole narrative style came from Frank Miller's Sin City, Frank Miller's Batman: The Dark Knight Returns. So he's a big one for me. He taught me how to write fight scenes. I had no idea how to write fight scenes until I started reading Frank Miller. Jack London, I love. Talking about classic literature. Oh, Bradbury. My God, Ray Bradbury is he's another game changer. I've read Fahrenheit 451 probably 451 times. Like, I love that book. Don't even have a physical copy. I've been borrowing it from libraries and borrowing it from friends, and I just got a digital copy on my Kindle literally 3 months ago. But I've read that book a million times. Yeah.
Wow.
Who else? Alan Moore, to go back to comic books.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love Alan Moore.
Watchmen is great, but I really feel like V for Vendetta is his masterpiece.
I love that comic book.
People don't talk about that one as often as Watchmen is the big one, but for me, V for Vendetta was huge. I love that. I love the way he crafts his vigilantes. It's something I've tried to do myself. Add a little edge, but don't just do it for its own sake. You know, that's what I like about Moore. He's got purpose behind it. And let's see. Well, we could be here all day talking about
yeah.
the rise of influence. But yeah, those are some of the big ones. Oh, and Orwell. Don't, you know, I'm sure Orwell would turn over in his grave if you let me not mention him. 1984, George Orwell, he's another big influence of mine. All right, let's keep going.
Okay, but really quick, of the two of those people, one, Stephen King, still need to read a Stephen King book. Still have not read a single.
Never read a King, but you know what though?
That's me too.
I only started reading King this year. I thought he was hype. I really did. I thought King was BS. I thought he was hype. But then I started reading his short stories, and I was just blown away. So yeah.
I've seen a few of his movies, but oddly enough, I've seen like the least horror and least supernatural ones. I've seen The Shining, The Green Mile, and Shawshank Redemption, which are ones like a lot of people don't even know some of those are Stephen King properties.
I actually didn't know that Shawshank Redemption was a Stephen King.
It is.
Oh, okay.
It has like zero supernatural elements, but it's a Stephen King novel that got adapted into a freaking amazing movie.
Very good movie.
Yeah. That, and I'm not going to name who because I don't want to devolve. One of the people you named is like, I consider my literary archnemesis. Like,
I know who it is.
Me too.
Yeah, they both know who it is. One of those people is someone like, I despise with passion that is.
Is it Bradbury?
No, actually, I think Bradbury.
A lot of people.
He's innovative. He's innovative, but I don't think he's a great author. I do respect the crap out of him, though.
Because I throw out Bradbury a lot, and people always looking like I'm crazy. Like, Bradbury? Really? Like, every time I say that. But
Bradbury's really good.
You know what, though? I might not even be a Bradbury fan. I think I just like that one book.
Yeah, that's actually most people that I know, because that is a pretty good book, but a lot of his other stuff is kind of weird. Not necessarily bad, just weird.
I always remember the benchmark. Like, I've read a little bit. I haven't finished it. I need to go back and finish Fahrenheit 451 because I remember it being a great book. But what I consider like the benchmark of a Ray Bradbury story is in like third grade. One of his short stories was on our thing, and it was this story about this suburb in the 50s, and this other couple move in next door. So they take him to a fair, and they're a little weird. And they only eat cotton candy. Like all they ever see them eat is cotton candy at the fair. And then they, like, rush home because it's going to rain, and they get rained on, and then they just melt. And that's the end of the story. I was like,
what?
This is some Twilight Zone stuff. Well, I mean, he was very, influential to the Twilight Zone. But, I don't know, like, he's an interesting author, but I think he's less science fiction than he's speculative fiction, but that's even a little bit of a stretch. He's more of a really crazy author, if anything. Like, his ideas are just like, last thing is, do you have any advice for any authors who are starting, like anyone who's starting to write fan fiction? Do you have any advice for them?
Advice? Yeah. Get an editor. Like, seriously, make friends.
I remember your note at the end of that one I think it was at the end of Act 1 where you talked about your editors.
Oh, yeah, because behind every competent writer is an infinitely more competent editor. My guys have been, because a lot of people don't know this about me, but I'm actually dyslexic, so I make a lot of errors. Someday I'll post one of my just first time rough drafts, like just throw it up on a blog post so everyone can see. It's incomprehensible. So I feel bad for my editors when I have to comb through my mess. But that's a big one. Is and if you can find a serious one who's genuinely interested in helping you improve as an author. Don't just get yes men. Get at least one yes man. Just for the sake of keeping your ego intact, because writing is very frustrating, and it's nice to just have that guy who says, "Yeah, that's great." You know what I mean. Get at least one yes man, but find yourself a good editor and be patient. Nothing's gonna happen overnight. It took me 4 years of consistent writing to get to the level where I am now, and I feel like I'm not even almost where I want to be. So, be patient, get yourself an editor. What else can I say about her advice? Write the whole story before you post it. I don't even follow that piece of advice, but that's probably the best piece of advice that was ever given to me that I never followed, is write the whole story before you post it so you don't write yourself into a corner.
That's a good idea.
I mean, it makes all the sense in the world. It's not like authors like Martin write chapters and put them out, monthly or what have you. But, write the whole story. That's a good one. But yeah, I think that's it for me. And stay positive. Don't ever give it up. I mean, that's a really cliche, obvious thing to say. But like I said, it takes a while. It's frustrating, but, if you really love to tell stories, then stick with it.
Yeah. My favorite author is Jim Butcher, and he has his guide to writing that he's still quasi in progress, but he considers the most important step in the process. The idea of the only one who can kill your dream, who can stop you from writing your novel, is you. No one else can stop you. So as long as you're resolute, there's nothing that can actually stop you from finishing your novel. And I thought that was just really good advice, and it's very similar to what you were just saying. Looking at stuff. So now it is time to talk about this week's theme, which is one we have not broached in our 28 previous episodes, Grimdark. And I think we've skirted around the topic, we've brought it up and then kind of dropped it to the wayside, and I think it's time we finally had a sit-down discussion about Grimdark. And I think the best place to start would be actually trying to define it. Because while I do think, especially in fanfiction, that genres are kind of very nebulous and very poorly defined, I think Grimdark is the most poorly defined of any.
I'll agree with that.
Because we have dark and Grimdark.
Right,
and so I wonder, what exactly is the line? And I think I said on previous episode, I thought the difference, what made something grimdark was kind of a lack of hope. Was something can be dark, but still have a small, tiny glimmer that things can turn out okay. And that Grimdark does not really offer that, but I'm not actually an expert on Grimdark, as you'll find out later in this podcast. So I would like to open the board to other people to throw in their ideas, because I have no idea.
I always thought, and this admittedly, it is one of my, I haven't read much Grimdark, and for that matter, when you said, I'd forgotten exactly what the theme was for tonight, so once you said that, I looked it up, and Pagliacci isn't even tagged as Grimdark.
I don't think we have a Grimdark tag on Tim.
There isn't a Grimdark tag. It's only on Equestria Daily.
Oh, okay, well, never mind then. That probably explains why I haven't read one. But, It may be my definition may be slightly misinformed, because when it comes down to it, the foundational Grimdark fix of this fandom are the notoriously awful ones. We're talking about Cupcakes, Apple Family Massacred. I mean, there's no
Rainbow Factory.
Yeah, Rainbow Factory. In my experience, the Grimdark fics that get well known in this fandom aren't the ones that get really dark and then have any level of hope or redemptive value or anything like that. They're just the ones that are sick and twisted for the sake of being sick and twisted, with not only no hope in the story, but no redeeming value either. Nothing positive to be gained from the story at all. And, again, that's how I have defined it, but again, it might be slightly misinformed or at least underinformed, because those are really the only Grimdark fics I've been exposed to.
The thing is, the term Grimdark actually comes from Warhammer 40k. Or is it, I think it's Warhammer 40k, not just Warhammer. Because that is a universe where the goodest people of any, group, every faction, is the Imperial forces, who are a tyrannical, lawful evil dictatorship, who are terrible, legitimately awful, and they're the best out of all of them. Everything is worse than them. And that's where the idea of Grimdark comes from, where, the best you can do is playing lawful evil.
Wow.
Otherwise, you're playing as, some kind of hive mind that's taking over the universe, or you're playing as orcs, space orcs, who are just rampaging and questing and raping, or you're playing as, eldritch horrors, just swallow planets. So it's of all those, it's tyrannical overlord ain't that bad. And that's where it comes from. It's it's almost either gray and black morality, and almost just black and black morality.
I like that, black and black morality. You got nothing. Well, I'm not too familiar with Grimdark either, but to chime in, I've always thought, you said before, every Grimdark fic I've ever read are the kind of ones that, it's like the slasher movie of fan fiction. It's kind of like it's dark, but we're just kind of having fun and killing people, you know what I mean? So for me, it's a tone thing. I guess if a fic just being gory for its own sake and not really taking itself too seriously, in my experience, that's all the Grimdark I've ever read. Beyond that, I don't know if you can even make a fair distinction between the two. Dark is dark.
Yeah.
Indeed. JC?
Well, I feel kind of out of place right now because I don't read a whole lot of fan fiction.
So you're Sam from the early episodes.
What?
You're Sam from the first episode.
Yeah.
Yay, I'm not the new guy anymore.
No. I've only read, probably around, I want to say 25 stories on fanfiction, and then I used to read a lot on fanfiction.net when I was younger. But other than that, I've been out of the loop for so long. So, I don't read enough to distinguish, dark between grimdark and whatnot.
Well...
So, I don't think I have a very valid, opinion of what is what.
Well, I actually decided to just look up what the definition for grimdark is as an adjective. And apparently it's used for settings where the living conditions are poor for everyone involved.
Everyone.
That's all specific and not really as it's used.
Basically,
Here.
I guess the idea is it's a setting where things are bad for everyone. No one is coming out on top. No one is doing well.
Not even the mass murderer? He's not doing good either?
I guess not.
I was on Equestria Daily looking up Grimdark fics, and Pony Age is on there, which is the Dragon Age fan fiction for
I didn't know that
MLP.
existed. I need to look it up.
You didn't know it existed?
I did not.
Yeah.
I need to see it now.
There's a lot of chapters.
Is there Pony Alistair?
Most definitely, I would assume.
Okay, I need to read it just for that. Anyway, sorry, go on.
But I think that's kind of funny that it would be on Grimdark. Just because, I don't know, knowing the story of Dragon Age and everything.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, with that whole living conditions
Yeah, just
definition, it would...
Roy said.
It would kind of fit. Well, no, not
No.
I'm
really.
looking up.
No,
I'm
it
looking
wouldn't. Never
Really?
mind. No.
EQD's
Fallout Equestria would fit.
Well, Equestria Daily's definition is stories that involve death, famine, plagues, Twilight going on rampages, murdering all her friends, etc.
Yeah, there you go.
Well,
That's actually a pretty decent definition.
Well, that'll do
I
it.
guess. Except then it does seem to define it based on content rather than anything like tone.
yeah, wouldn't that be just dark, too?
Right, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, do we really need a distinction between dark and grimdark? I don't know.
Grimdark is just extra dark.
And I guess that's what made the difference
Like
for me, is that
Pitch
there's...
black.
Yeah, like, there's only, something like this or Fallout Equestria are definitely very dark, but it's when you get into the depravity of something like Cupcakes that there only seems to be a really big difference for me, I guess.
Interesting. So I guess we can transition from that to actually talking more about Pagliacci. Which, time for a quick summary for those of you who are wondering who the heck the guest is. Pagliacci is a story set in the, I guess, semi-futuristic world of Manhattan. Manhattan is a crime-ridden, diseased city. It's kind of a cesspool. And there's a lot of gangs vying for attention, fighting over territory. And one of those gang members is a little zebra named Pinstripe, who is told by his boss that he has to go has to go escort someone from the local asylum back into town. And that pony he's taking is the prankster, once known as Pinkie Pie, who's basically an analog for the Joker. And from there, oh god, all the death, Paris sprites, and polka.
It gets bad.
Polka, man. But,
It's so great.
it is. So basically, it's going, what if Pinkie Pie was the Joker, and not like a fun Adam West Joker, not even a Mark Hamill Joker, which is kind of funny but also a little vaguely threatening. No, a flat out Heath Ledger, oh no, what's happening kind of Joker. And I guess I could just start by saying what really worked the best for me, what hooked me from like the first chapter, was that I immediately felt like she was Pinkie Pie. Like I didn't feel like she was too out of character. She was still felt like, a much more messed up version.
Exactly.
She felt like Pinkie Pie, but she also feels perfectly like the Joker. Like, oh no, this is the character that has killed millions. This is the terrible, terrifying crown prince of crime, just as a female pony now. And she legitimately scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
And
that's a pretty big compliment, because when I first sat down to write the prankster, I knew I wanted to channel Ledger's Joker specifically. That was the vibe I was going for. But mixing it with shades of Pinkie, because Pinkie's hard to write. Like there's just no way around it. Pinkie's hard to write. So, yeah. especially in such a serious story and such a dark tone. So it's kind of like how do you navigate Pinkie? She's such a conundrum, and I'm notoriously not terribly good with character. So for you to say that I sold the prankster, that's a huge compliment. That's pretty that's pretty amazing. Because yeah, my character eludes me. That's a tricky one for me. Like I can pace an action scene like nobody else. Plotting isn't too hard, but character's a bit of a conundrum.
Really, because I think character's one of my favorite parts of any story.
Oh, of course.
And, I think you did the characters pretty well. At least I love the prankster. I really love. I think Pinstripe is a great character, and it was only. I told Casey, like, when I hit that weird realization when we were talking about it, and it just suddenly hit me. I was like, Pinstripe is Harley Quinn. And then she was like, duh! Like, you didn't realize that immediately? And I was like, no, I didn't. But I don't know, it's a great rendition of that kind of character, but still very unique and different. And, I don't love Berry Punch, but Berry Punch is interesting. At
I
least
love
it's like
even.
Barry's really really interesting. Blitzkrieg was pretty cool. I'm really liking the recent chapters with Filthy Rich. I think Filthy Rich is a really interesting character.
You know what? When I first sat down to write Filthy, he was going to have such a small role. But as soon as I wrote the scene with him and the artist, I fell in love with that character. I really love Filthy Rich. Like he's like my penguin, I guess. I love that guy. So yeah, you can expect to see a lot more of him in the story, having a bigger. Because when I first sat down to write, I was like, Filthy, he'll be there. But I really like that guy.
Well, I love the chapter he's introduced, where they have the stuff with the artist, and then he goes home, and what I'm not going to spoil it, but the thing that happens at the end of that chapter immediately hooked me. I was like, I need the next chapter right now. Like, seriously. What's going to happen next? It was such a brilliant setup. I love that. I also really like that you have these vague allusions to what's happened previously in the universe. As someone who... I didn't until very recently know this was part of a larger universe of your writing, which I am actually now excited to check out. So you have these vague references to Cadence's sunrises and other stuff, and I'm just like, what? Like, it's clear stuff has happened, and we're really out of the loop. And I really like that. Overall, it's not my favorite story in fanfiction, but it's in my top 5. And I really, as someone who loves Batman, loves the Joker, great villain, loves villains, just finished watching some Lost and Benjamin Linus.
No.
But yeah, I just love villains, and you write a great one.
Mm-hmm.
Samuel, you've been very quiet.
I have been rather quiet.
What do you think, Samuel?
Of Pagliacci?
Yeah.
Well, my favorite thing about it is definitely the writing, especially in regards to the characters.
I was gonna say that too.
Yeah. The characters are all very well developed. I have a good feel for them. And with such a large cast, that is very impressive. The only thing that's been a kind of a bar to me, and I'll admit, I read through Act 1 back when Roy, said at least get to the end of Act 1 before we record, and then of course the recording didn't happen for a long time. And I started reading again but haven't fully caught up, so, disclaimer, but I kind of hate all the characters. Like, they're good characters, but I cannot root for any of them. I'm not entirely sure what to do with that still. The only one that I didn't completely despise was Blitzkrieg. Everyone else, I've had, varying levels, but, the inter-act thing made me hate Berry Punch.
Oh, yeah.
And all, Pinky and everyone involving her I obviously hate, and Pinstripe I've kind of grown to hate. And I don't know if that's just something about me or if that's necessarily intended, but it's interesting when I'm reading through this story and really interested in the characters and stuff, but can't actually bring myself to want anything good to happen to any of them. It's interesting.
That sounds very Martin-esque. Though...
Well, this is something that comes up a lot with my writing, because when I wrote Eyes Without a Face, I don't know if you guys have read that one.
I'm planning on it, haven't yet.
The character in that story, just little heads up, the character in that story, Rose, is loathsome. Rosie is just the absolute worst of the worst. And so I got a lot of criticism. People are like, oh yeah, Rose, she's fascinating, she's well thought out, she's fleshed out, she's this, she's that, but she's not really likable. And so, and she was the lead. And so when I got that criticism, I said, okay, that's cool. I think I'll take Rose and I'll multiply her about, I'll split her up into a dozen different characters and see how that plays out. And interestingly enough, despite the lack of likable characters, Pog is my most popular story. So it's kind of because I have a philosophy just as a writer and as a reader, I don't think characters need to be likable for you to want to read them. You know what I mean?
Agree with that.
I don't think they need to necessarily be like, oh, I can get behind this guy and I can root for him. Sometimes you just want to see what that crazy dude is going to do next. That's kind of what's cool about Pog. What I like, because everyone's a villain in Pog. The cops are corrupt.
Yeah.
Everyone else is a gangster. So it's not really about good versus evil. It's just about people butting heads. And it's just people butting heads, and that's what I really like about it. So, but yeah, the characters, they're not really supposed to be likable. I think I would, I would have some bad news for you if you liked my characters. You're probably a little off yourself. You're a little off yourself. They're not really supposed to be likable. Maybe a tad sympathetic. Maybe you can look at some of them and go, okay, I see how this person got to where they are, got to being so broken. But no, they're not really supposed. It's not really something I'm for.
For me, it's a little situational because I actually like the characters. That's one of the things that makes me want to read because I like them. I'm not rooting for them, but I love villains. So I'm all about how evil they are. But there's a book that I had to read for one of my English classes, and all of the characters are horrible, and I absolutely hated that book just because I could not get into any of the characters and what they were doing. Well, I thought they were all just horrible people.
Well, and what you're both talking about, it feels like what reminds me of Jub, what you said, for you, a character doesn't have to be likable for you to want to keep reading, to be interested in them. Right. That exactly reminds me of why I think there's a difference between certain people where we're like that, and I call it almost the House effect. House is a story about a doctor who is a drug addict, and kind of a drug addict, and is a jerk to everyone, and is a just terrible person. But he's really intelligent and very charismatic, and he might have a heart somewhere in there. But for almost none of the show do you ever like or root for him. It's just, what is he going to do next? And a lot of the other characters, as the show goes on, you start to realize very few characters in that show are actually likable or rootable for. So many of them are just, if they're not, terrible, they're kind of pathetic. And so it's kind of like what you're talking about. I think that's why there's such a huge divide with that show. And I'm guessing might be a divide with Pagliacci, where there's the people who are like, I don't really care if they're likable or not. This is entertaining, and I'm invested in this. And then there are the people who are like, man, those guys are jerks. Why do you watch that?
Right. It's usually a deal breaker for a lot of people that I talk to. My friends, they're like, oh, if I can't root for a character, that's a deal breaker for them. But for me, I don't know. If a character is well written, if they're fleshed out, if they're interesting, I can get behind them. I can enjoy that story.
Okay. One other thing I just wanted to bring up is literally 2 weeks ago, I was looking about Pagliacci. I wanted to see if he had a TV tropes page. It does have a TV tropes page, by the way.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is really good. So, sadly, it shares a TV tropes page with the play Pagliacci. So when I saw crowning moments of funny and crowning moments of awesome, I was like, oh man, I love these pages. And I go there, it's nothing about your fic, and I'm like, that needs to be rectified. And then it mentioned something called the Jubbiverse, and I was like, what's the Jubbiverse? And I went on there, and they have an article about the Jubbiverse, which is all the fics that you've written that are in the same continuity, which is Pagliacci, Eyes Without a Face, and what are the other ones?
Scoots, which is a prequel to Eyes? Yeah, okay, I'll go with that. Scoots is a prequel to Eyes Without a Face, and Bella Luna, which just takes place it's not really connected to it, just takes place in Manhattan, the same universe. Yeah.
Okay. So I saw that, I was like, what? And then it mentioned your writing style, and I have to quote it. I have to get to the page to quote it, because it was basically it was the best way I've ever heard to summarize a person's writing style. I can do the computer thing, and the page can come up. Here we go. The Jubbiverse is a filthy, rotten, evil twin to most fanon continuities. Each story contained in this fanon continuity is bleak, dreary, depressing, violent, and above all else, totally friggin' awesome. And I think that is part of the key, is as bleak and depressing as it can be, it's awesome. It's without spoiling anything, Polka Parasprites was one of the greatest things I've ever read in my life. The thing that happened at the end of Act 1, it blew my mind. And the image of it is just so, like, crisp and fresh every time I think of it, and I'm just like, that is the best. And there's a couple of examples, mostly stuff the Prankster does. It's just, when you picture it and you're reading it, and it's happening in your mind's eye, you're like, this is the coolest thing I've ever heard. And it works. It also it reminds me definitely of the Heath Ledger Joker, but it also reminds me, I know Casey has, I think Sam has, but he doesn't remember because he fell asleep.
Oh.
Jub, have you seen Batman Under the Red Hood?
Yes.
You have?
Yes.
The Joker in that movie isn't the best, not the best interpretation of the Joker, but that scene in the asylum when he kills those 3 people in like half a second, basically. That's the kind of thing, like that immediate, spontaneous action the Joker. I think that's part of what makes the Joker such a great villain, is that he's capable of such acts that are, he's doing it immediately on the fly, didn't plan this, but it works so perfectly, and is so insane and violent, that you almost have to applaud. And I think you perfectly capture that with the Prankster.
Oh, well, I mean, I've been a huge Batman fan, since I could read, and the Joker, of course, is his greatest villain, and so I've always wanted to write a character like that. So, if my Joker, if my Prankster is good, it's because my research is extensive. I've read every Batman story worth reading. I've read every Batman story featuring the Joker, so, yeah, that character has been a blast to write. Also very difficult, one of the more challenging characters I've ever written, but definitely one of the most rewarding. She's a lot of fun. She's a lot of fun.
Have you read I, Joker?
I have, yes.
It was super hard to get a hold of, but I actually have read that one. That one's weird. I don't know, that just randomly popped in my brain. Next on the show, it's time for updates. As we've been away for 8 months...
Oh, gosh. This is going to be the longest podcast ever.
I'll try to keep it quick. First off, I think I haven't ever mentioned on here before, would be Razor's Edge Requiem by Terrace Reemhan. This is a Mass Effect fanfiction, and I had to bring it up because it is my favorite non-pony fanfiction right now. It is seriously amazing. It doesn't update enough, but when it's just... Basically, Requiem is a sequel to the original Razor's Edge. They're both novelizations of one of the games. Razor's Edge was the second game, and Requiem is the third game. And it is doing a beautiful job of fixing 3. Like, seriously, so many things that, like, she'll just add in there, and you're like, you think about it, and you're like, what wasn't that brought up in the game? Like, seriously, they didn't think of that? It's perfect. Love it. Let's see, I'll skip that one right now. The Main 6 Discover Human Music by Blissy1. This is a really fun fic where the Main 6 discover human music, and it's really silly. It's silly, but it's also fun to see them, because the idea being they think of humans as these aliens from across the galaxy. So when they hear our music, they're like, that's all they have. They have no pictures. They just have our music to try and find out what we're like. And that's really interesting. The newest chapter was, it was really great. I really loved it. And the song was, I almost want to do the impression. What a wonderful world. That was just beautiful. Only Human by Smoking Gun, which is actually updated more than I've read. I'm sorry, Smoking Gun. You can stab me later. The great fun fic about Lyra's a cartoonist that I really like. It's so great. Volume 2's lovely. I love the character development. And Sam in it. Samuel is a character who is the founder of Humanity Daily. And you're a full-fledged character. And you have a military dad for some reason.
I would like to point out that my first inclusion in My Little Pony fanfiction is better than yours.
What? One day, Samuel, I'll get you to tell me who wrote that piece of crap text. I will...
That was
those of you listeners,
my greatest accomplishment.
Those of you listeners, Last episode, Samuel bombarded me with the fact that there was a fic called Lorpia's Best Ship Fic. Or ship, or whatever. Where it shipped me and Derpy.
It was a stupid, horribly written piece of crap shipping him and Derpy.
He had it written. Because he's terrible.
Actually, it was not my idea originally. It was not my idea originally. The person I know who wrote it came up with the idea and did it him or herself.
You still need to tell me who it is.
Never.
Okay, so there's that. There's Flash Fog. I always say that. Flash Fog by Quackerjack.
Oh.
Which is very good. I'm really liking this fic more and more. Some great rug pulling. It goes in directions I don't anticipate. I really like it, but I have to bring this up because I've done nothing but praise it every time it updates. I'm like, oh, this is this fun, cute little fic, blah, blah. There's a bunch of, like, cutaways to the Cutie Mark Crusaders, and it feels like because the rest of the, the main six are all doing stuff in the story, it feels like the author felt like they had to include the Cutie Mark Crusaders doing something. And what they're doing, every time they cut away to them, it's just, like, not interesting in the slightest. I think their subplot is just the most dull thing that really needs to be edited out.
Oh, so they're in character. Okay.
Nice. There is Compiler by Smoking Gun, which was interesting. Oh, here's a big one. Vinyl and Octavia University Days by Dawnfade is complete.
Whoa.
It updated and it finished, finally. I can now say that it's been finished. I need to reread it all because I really love it. I almost want to call it a pony fanfiction classic now. It's really one of my all-time favorites. I love the ending. And Dawnfade, if I don't see any kind of sequel or any work on a sequel by 2015, you'll know. And another one, the Dresden Phillies False Masks, is done.
I still need to read that.
Every time it updates, I have to try and find a way to put into text and then say aloud some variation of my sheer glee and happiness that it exists. So instead I'm just going to say, it's amazing-tastic. I absolutely love the ending. There was a One Piece reference. And I think it's, at this point, now that ended, it's official. The series is my favorite of all time of any fanfic series that exists as multi-part stories. And soon the trilogy will start to end with the final chapter, Great Power. And I could not be more excited for that.
Okay, I obviously need to catch up on that, because Dresden,
man. And then, quick similar thing is Dresden Philly's Ditzy Dream, which is a side story. He's been doing side stories, which are really fun, and this one is from Derpy's perspective on Dresden being around. And it's 3 adorable 5 me. It's just too much. That was really good. And then, those are the ones I've read. I'm just going to scroll through really quickly on the things I haven't read. Yes, Fight the Power apparently updated. I need to read that. Only Human, as I mentioned. Oh, Sam!
Yeah? Oh my gosh, did it? Did it happen?
A World Without Rainbows!
Oh, that's not actually what I was thinking, but holy crap, that's actually more exciting. Yes, I was thinking of My Little Chrono, and seriously! But okay, World Without Rainbows. Cool.
Well, I can message Pav right now.
You should do that. We haven't done this podcast in so long, you probably haven't been bugged for it in a while. You
lazy prick, in quotes.
Okay, I'll email them the explicit version.
So that updated that I need to read.
But okay, wow, that's
it's an 19,000 word update.
Well, it better as heck be. It's been probably about that many years since we got since we got the last update, so yeah. It's
been 19,000 years?
Yes.
Sam, I knew you were bad at math, but that's just math. And then, next, Brief History of Equestria by Canine the First. I completely forgot this even existed. It had not updated since May of 2013. So I completely forgotten its existence. But it's really fun. I love it. I like the idea of writing a fanon history book of Equestria. I just like that. I didn't even know this. It has only one tag, and it's a unique tag in universe history. I don't think there's another fic on FimFiction with that tag. That's amazing. And then, Flash Fog, as I mentioned, that exists. I've read a decent amount of updates. It's updated 15 times since I last read it. So, should probably get on that. Sam, what you got?
Okay. I feel horrible for saying this because I know I say it every time anyway, but it's been like
But there's not usually
8
an
months.
8-month gap.
Yeah, no, there's not usually 8 months. But the problem is that what with
You got married.
yeah, what with getting married and then moving and trying to get another job in the place we moved to, and a whole bunch of other stuff, I have not been reading nearly as much fan fiction. Now that said, I did just recently get my print copies of Fallout Equestria, and I am more excited than you can possibly imagine, and I'm rereading that. But, seethe, Roy. Seethe in hatred and jealousy.
Oh, I am. Don't worry. You just can't do
Okay,
that.
good. Just wanted to make sure. That's good. But yeah, for the most part, I just haven't been keeping up. So yeah. Now, it asked me to talk about video games coming up soon, and I could talk here for a while, but, you know.
Okay. Casey, has anything updated that you like to read?
Samuel took the fall for me, so...
Okay. Wait, but isn't that your favorite movie?
Roy,
Samuel took the fall for me?
Yeah.
The Fall.
That's a great movie.
Samuel took the fall.
No, he took the fall from you. That pun not work.
No, it backfired.
Oh well. All right then, Jub. Does anything you read update?
Oh, I don't read fan fiction.
I'm
No,
surprised by how many
You
fanfic writers we have on this show that don't read
You know what?
fanfiction.
Every time I read a fanfic, I go into a seizure, and I feel like I'm never. I keep reading things that are just amazing, and I'm like, I'm never gonna be this good, and I just can't write for a week. Like I just read the story that got in the vault called Run by Stereo Sub. It broke. It was amazing. Like I quit writing. I was like, I'm done. I quit. I'm leaving. I started again in an hour, but
Wait, I thought that was on my update. Hold on.
I have you got to get on that. But yeah, I have a mini breakdown every time I read a fanfic. I'm always like, oh, well, just take a look and see what the competition's up to, and it's just blows my mind, and I can't cope. So I don't read too much fan fiction, to be perfectly honest. But yeah,
I understand.
that was a good one. Oh man.
That actually reminds me. I have a friend who's an author who I talk to, and he mentions whenever I'm like, oh yeah, this fanfic, he's like, I don't read other fan fiction. I don't want to take an idea from subconsciously take an idea from someone and get hassled. I'm like, I guess that's a way to get around that. Sure.
Well, you know how the internet is. Have a character that has anything vaguely like some other character from something popular, and people call you on it.
That is true. I'm going to now. This isn't an update. Well, it's kind of an update. I did something during that huge break that I said I was going to do since the beginning of the podcast, basically. I started to read Background Pony.
Oh.
I finally did. And I got 6.5 chapters in.
Oh, you're farther than I got now. I forgot about that. I need to read more of that.
It has 20,000
Which one is that one again?
Background Pony is the story of Lyra, who has been cursed since the first episode of the show, so that no one will ever remember her.
Uh-huh.
After a couple minutes into a conversation, they will completely forget about her and everything that transpired in that conversation. Not only with that, she also can't leave anyone notes because it all looks blank. She can't write in the sand. That won't work either. She can't communicate with anyone in a lasting way. That and if she tries to leave Ponyville, she gets colder and colder until she almost freezes to death. And it's a very, very sad story. By Short Skirts and Explosions, who's a really good author who I really like. I will say this. First of all, I will make this very clear when I say I got 6.5 chapters in. Background Pony is really, really good. Just the writing style and everything is just one of the most beautiful things I've ever read in my life.
I do remember. It's one of as much as there are other fics that I love, like Fallout Equestria is still one of the greatest things I've ever read, but Background Pony had a very, very rare case of the simple fact that I was enjoying not just the story and stuff, but the very act of reading that prose was a glorious and enjoyable thing. It's absolutely beautiful.
And I got 6.5 chapters in, and that's really far, and then I stopped. And I stopped for a number of reasons. I stopped because I felt it was getting a little repetitive. The prose was still great, but the story wasn't going in really anywhere, I didn't feel. And in the directions it did feel like it was moving in ways I didn't really like. It seemed to be breaking down the main six's characters in really weird ways. I don't know. I started to lose interest, and after a certain point, I just looked, and I was like, well, there's another, 200,000 or 300,000 words of this.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm done. So I did that, and then I do what I always do when I end a series like that. I go on TV Tropes, and I spoil the crap out of myself.
Oh. Roy!
I am so glad I stopped there. You have no idea. I will not spoil a single part of this thing for you. I do think it's really beautiful to read. The story goes freaking weird places. Like, places where I'm like, I don't even know what you were thinking, how you arrived at that idea. No. I'm really glad I ended it there. I think it's still a great story, and I still really like Short Skirts and Explosions. I think they're a really great author, and for some reason that just happened. I don't understand that. I just, for everyone who's ever pestered me to read Background Pony, I did. I read it. Then I stopped. So.
And then he defiled it with spoilers.
And then I defiled it with all the spoilers in the world.
Defiled himself with defiled art and literature with spoilers. We'll just say that.
Okay, Sam, we have to have intervention on this. Really, I knew I was never going to pick it up again.
Yeah, I know. I'm just giving you a hard time because of spoilers.
Although you did spoil Attack on Titan for yourself.
That's because I'm lazy and impatient.
But then you wanted to read it.
Nope, now
Okay.
Now I'm giving you crap again, Roy.
Okay, Attack on Titan. Finished the anime. Wanted to know what happened, but was not going to read the manga.
Or wait for
Spoiled
the next
myself.
season, apparently.
Now
Nope.
you want to read it. Now you are
Yeah, now
reading
I'm like, now I'm near the end of it. Because the spoilers were so interesting I had to read. So that could be counted as a good thing.
You still spoiled yourself.
Okay,
on purpose.
Alright, so now let's bring up some examples of Grimdark stories that we can discuss that are good. I'm going to open the floor and then hide under a chair. Because I got nothing. Except, the only thing I can say is, people have called Fallout Equestria Grimdark.
Isn't it tagged Grimdark? Isn't it tagged?
I think it is tagged Grimdark.
Which, based on the definition that Roy looked up, would fit. But
if you count it as Grimdark, and I do kind of think that it is really dark. Like, really dark.
Don't spoil any.
I won't.
Spoiling Fallout
I'm just saying-
Equestria would be a sin worthy of being thrown in all circles of hell at once. And a new one.
Even the tent with the puns?
Yes. The one with the
And
puns
the mimes?
and the mimes. Yes, absolutely.
Oh. Yeah. Not only is it tagged Grimdark, it has a rainbow tag of legendary. That's amazing.
I think it's still the only one that does, isn't it? Or have they added
I think
it
it
to another one since then?
I don't think so. I don't think anything else is like that. Okay, but if you count it as Grimdark, which I would, kind of, I'd understand it at least, then if we're doing that, then yeah, it's really good. Like, I don't know, we had a whole episode on Fallout Equestria. It's a thing. It's like really well written, and I like how it was. I don't know what to say beyond that.
I have to add in my voice here in that case to say that, because that's probably the only fic that I've really read and loved that could be called Grimdark, probably. Unless this one's also called I mean, we're talking about Pagliacci in the
Well, we
context
are.
of
I also
Grimdark,
call
in which case, it's good. But aside from that, Fallout Equestria is the only one that I've really read that would be considered Grimdark, and like I've said, it's quite possibly just the single greatest work of literature I have ever had the pleasure of reading in my life, and I just love the heck out of it. So, in that case, yay for that Grimdark fic, and then boo on all the others I mentioned. Like, man, I skimmed Cupcakes, and
oh, you skimmed
I skimmed the beginning of Apple Family Massacre, and it didn't take very long for me to just go, heck no, screw this stuff. Oh my gosh.
You know what we should have had on for this? We could have had on Dylan, because Dylan's read a lot of those.
Yeah.
I don't know why he has.
I don't either.
But he has.
I don't.
I fully read Cupcakes before.
Oh, you actually fully... Man, you have a strong
I read every word. I was at a school computer.
That seems risky.
And I was like, hey, you know what? I messed up. At the time I had a review blog, and I was supposed to blog every day. And I didn't. I messed up. I missed a couple days. So I thought I always punish myself when I do stuff like that. I was like, a good punishment, I'll read Cupcakes and review it. I almost puked on the school computer. I came this close to puking on it.
Why I
what is the origin of Cupcakes? Why is it? Because I read Cupcakes and I was like, okay, yeah, it's kind of gross, but why is it so big? Was it just the first one?
It was. If it wasn't the first, just kind of horrible for the sake of being horrible MLP fanfic, it was at least the one that popularized them. The first one that got a lot of attention, and so
I don't know.
Sam, I just discovered there's a Grimdark Thing crossover fic.
That sounds wonderful.
That's actually interesting.
I need to read this.
Yeah,
now.
I'm okay with that existing.
Because, the Thing. Oh, John Carpenter, yes. I love it. Every word. Well, not word. Every minute of screen time.
What words didn't you like?
Well, no.
That was just an oddly specific
it's not a script.
exemption.
Well, no, because I was just like, as a story, I loved every word. I'm like, no, it's a film, so.
There were words said in the film.
Interesting.
Legitimate.
Yeah, like, Matt, give me the flamethrower. What?
I've heard that Project Horizons is very good. It's a Grimdark.
I've heard that too.
I still need to read it. I mean, part of me, I've heard it's amazing, and part of me wants to read it because I love Fallout Equestria, and part of me wants to let Fallout Equestria just stand on its own as the pinnacle of things that I've read. So I'm not sure.
I've never read that fic.
Man,
I think I read the first few chapters. Yeah, it's huge. Like it had.
Yeah.
I think I was on their site and I saw that they had like an audiobook and that it had been translated into multiple languages.
Yeah, someone's read most of the chapters, but they still haven't done like the last 5 chapters or something. They're really close to the end. It's just not done, and I'm kind of upset about that and think that needs to be fixed.
Project Horizons is over 1 million words long.
Wow.
Oh, is that by now? See, I knew that it was as long as Fallout Equestria and halfway done, but I hadn't realized it actually got past that mark. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
See,
I don't know what the author does besides write. Probably nothing.
I've always thought it's dark as kind of a short form style, because it's the kind of thing that if you do too much of it, it wears itself out. It's kind of like, okay, like I get it, your life is miserable. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I've never felt that genre lends itself well to being long.
Yeah,
long.
It depends. I guess it's kind of the difference to... Okay, sorry, I'm going to dip into my area of expertise here. I guess it's kind of the difference between Max Payne 3 and Fallout 3. Like, Max Payne 3 was basically just spending every moment of the game hammering, and he's depressed and drinks because his life sucks. Whereas Fallout 3 was, yeah, everything sucks around here, but you're trying to make it better, and that's cool,
You could be making it better, or you could be making it worse, depending on how you
that's
play the
true,
game.
I suppose. But generally
I
speaking, there is hope on the horizon, you're working towards it, and there's hope in the little things, too.
You can give the bums some water.
Yes, exactly. And
karma.
see, there is kindness in the wasteland, that one guy.
That one guy who gets attacked by the talons every time he walks 3 feet.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to... I kind of wish that there was an option to, like, here, I have too many bottle caps. Just take some, buy a house somewhere, and get your own water.
Oh, you can get a house.
Oh, I got a house, but that bum I'm talking about.
The bum.
Yeah, no. But yeah,
did you know? I didn't know about this. I still haven't done it. Apparently, the Talon mercenaries have a base.
Yeah.
And you can go.
I randomly came across them, and then I never got attacked by them again.
Oh, that's good for you. Oh, good for you.
Anyway. Dark stuff.
I was talking about dark stuff.
Yeah.
Thing is great.
That's kind of my thought on it, at least. It's just that it depends on how it's done. It's just a difference between a dark setting and an overly dark story, I suppose.
I would say, in respect to both Fallout 3 and Fallout Quest each, Fallout 3 doesn't feel like it overstays its welcome because while it is super dark, it also has a really dark sense of humor going with it, too. Like, it really has a hilarious sense of humor that's really messed up, but also very funny. And Fallout Quest kind of has that. I wouldn't say that's a big thing in it. It's a thing that exists. I would say, moreover, the thing that wins over Fallout Questria is that it isn't one thing over and over again. It's always progressing into something. It's always changing. Or rather, the main character is always changing. And because you're following it all through her eyes, every change is important and lasting. And that's kind of what makes it a lot more bearable to read, if it's just like, man, this is dark, but at least I have someone I can kind of root for. So that's that thing. Chubb, do you have any dark stories you would recommend? Oh, wait, you already tried that, and we're like, I don't know. That doesn't bookmark the thing, though.
No, like I said, fan fiction freaks me out. I can't read it. I don't know. Yeah, it's a weird thing. I think, I don't know, because I feel like these stories that are supposedly grimdark, there's not that much that's different from them from dark stories. Because I mean, if Fallout, I read some of Fallout Equestria. If Fallout Equestria is grimdark, then Pagliacci is definitely grimdark.
Yeah.
And I've certainly grimdark. So, it feels like a very arbitrary distinction. I kind of feel like they don't even both need to exist. I think dark is good enough. I think dark.
I'd agree.
See, that's kind of why my definition of grimdark was what it was, because I do see a difference between stuff like this, that, there's stories with characters that are going through things, there are themes that they're exploring, as opposed to, hey, let's just write a fan fiction where Pinkie Pie brutally murders Rainbow Dash for no particular reason,
But, Samuel, if you try to define it like that, then you're basically saying, I hate everything in this one genre. Because you're defining the genre as things you don't like.
Well, not things I don't like, but rather stories that are, I guess...
You are, though!
I guess you could say it like that. Rather, the question being whether the point of the story is to enjoy and revel in dark, horrible things, or whether the point of the story is to explore dark and horrible things for the sake of actually bringing truth out of it like, art's supposed to do. So, yes, I hate that, but aside from the fact that I hate, pieces of art that don't actually try and explore anything or make a positive impact in any way, that is still a thing. And that's what I've seen grimdark to be. I don't know. It's just the only distinction that makes any sense to me.
I just had a brilliant idea that came out of literally nowhere.
Oh.
You're describing what you think is grimdark. I think it could be argued that as a work of weird fiction that is created by millions of people, the SCP Foundation is grimdark. I think so. Not 100% sure on that, but
I can see it.
As that, I think, depending on the writer, it's definitely depending on the author.
What's the difference between grimdark and horror, then?
Well, because people tag things.
Because the
SCP
Foundation is horror.
But it's horror, and a lot of the horror stems from the fact that your protagonist you have, the SCP Foundation, have noble ideals, but their noble ideals are carried out through a lot of terrible stuff, a lot of murder, a lot of imprisonment, a lot of things that are very morally questionable. But it's also clear that they're trying to be as good as they can be. They're never cruel for cruelness' sake. They're cold because they have to be.
You know, though...
And every other group in that world, though, has at least some really screwed up thing about them.
Though Casey's comment does bring something to mind for me, actually.
Why isn't there a horror tag?
Well, no, rather... Grimdark... Sorry, what was that?
Why isn't there a horror tag? That's actually a good point.
Yeah, well,
I was just thinking that.
It's something we've run into with tags before, and the tags seem to be fundamentally different from genres, which I still think is kind of messed up, actually, but, you know, dark is not a genre. Dark is it's a basic descriptor of a story. All kinds of genres in stories can be dark.
Yeah, right.
When we're trying to define it in the same way as we're trying to define genres, we're probably messing up how it's supposed to be perceived anyway. But then if we're just talking about, like, levels of darkness, then it's just kind of a big wishy-washy gray area. So, I'm not sure.
You don't know?
I don't really know. It's just that's just the interesting thing I realized when Casey said that, is that Grimdark is not a genre. It's just a descriptor that can apply to any and all genres. So...
True.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to rework the tag system.
Yeah, I think it would be better with the...
But I think
a
that's
lot of the tags are actual genres.
That's true, too. It's
well,
just kind of confusing.
They are.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I think it goes along with that, is I think in the same way, though, I think any point where you're trying to nail down, like, okay, here are the genres of fiction, and you make these genres of fiction, you say you have to fit your story into one or more of these, you're going to run into problems.
Well, yeah.
Pretty much definitely, no matter how you define things. Because you're always going to run into works that don't really fit any of them, or fit more than one of them.
Yeah.
To such an extent where you, like, if you tag it everything, then it's useless. It's like, if it's all of those things, then, like, what's the point of having a genre? So, I guess it's a problem with the tag system. It probably needs to be fixed, but at the same time, it's never going to be perfect.
That's very true. It's just interesting when we have a mix of them, because all of a sudden we're kind of trying to define a term like dark or sad in the same as something like, you know, because like a sad fic and a tragedy are very different, but they're just both tags.
I've always thought the sad tag was just the most ridiculous thing. Like, why?
Oh, we discussed that on the sad episode.
Is that, like, unique to fan fiction? Why is that a thing? I've never understood the sad.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Basically, half of our episode about sad fics was about why is that sad fic a thing.
Like, I don't know. That's just...
Well,
because it's just like dark. Any fic can be sad. You can have a sad romance. You can have a sad adventure. You can have, like, how is sad just... It's I don't know, it's strange to me.
Can I see a sad comedy?
I think...
I actually I literally searched advanced on FimFiction, sad and comedy, and I'm doing it to see if there are any, like, if there are, like, and there are, but there's nothing that's sad in comedy and that's it. It's all other things too.
When I think of tragedy, I think of something that's sad.
Yeah.
So...
Though as a...
But that's not actually the definition
coming
of
from...
English majors.
Yeah, English major stuff.
Tragedy
is technically a bit more than that, in that it is essentially the story of someone's demise or of something bad coming about, not necessarily just something sad.
Well, tragedy, rather, I think a better definition. Tragedy is when something bad happens through the direct actions of whoever it happened to.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, tragedy happens because the character did something that led to them being tragic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and apologies, but I'll be back in a second. Sorry, we're house sitting a dog, and she's prancing all over the place, so I think I need to take her out. Be back in a minute.
Okay. It's a break in the podcast where we gonna edit it all out later. So, Casey.
I was looking up dark fics that I had on my
like what?
On my read later thing, and Sweetie's Mansion.
Oh yeah, Sweetie's Mansion is dark.
Yeah.
It was actually the focus of the very first episode of the show, which was about dark.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't mean to click on that. But The new Let's Play Minecraft is out.
Oh.
It's another part of Mega Tower.
Okay.
I'm so excited, Casey. You don't even...
And as long as we're on tags, I would like a drama tag. I've been wanting a drama tag for a long time.
Drama for your mama. Drama would be good.
And maybe a smut one, too, just so people would know going in.
I thought...
there's a sex tag, isn't there?
Yeah, well...
Okay, but here's the thing, though.
Just
because a story has sex in it doesn't mean... There's a difference between a story with sex in it and...
You know what I mean?
Right.
You're right.
It would be cool if they just had, like, a straight... So you know what you're getting into. Like, this is...
Well...
Don't
people assume that when they go... they click on Adventure?
Because I've written stories that there's sex in the story, but it's not a smut. It's not even necessarily an erotica. There's just an instance of sex in the story, and so I feel the need to tell people, hey, you know, there's going to be sex in it, you know.
But you don't want to tell them this is smut.
It's like Game of Thrones. There's tons of sex in Game of Thrones, but it's not a smut. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I
And
feel
it's not necessarily erotic.
Yeah, and it's not, yeah, but it's just...
Nothing is erotic about Theon Greyjoy's penis.
But yeah, I don't know. I've always wanted there to be a distinction for that. But yeah,
that would be really good.
That's interesting that you brought that up, because isn't there a smut tag on? No, not. Sorry, I'm thinking of tags on when I go online and read manga. There's smut.
There's a smut tag for manga?
Yep.
What? I haven't read manga in a long time, apparently.
Oh man.
Well,
neither have I.
To kind of answer your question, Jeb, I actually just thought of this. Yes, like, why is sad a thing? I still think it's a dumb thing. Like, we brought up just how dumb it was in the sad episode. I think if there's a reason for it, it's because sad fics are a thing. You know? Like, our fandom is a specific fandom where people write sad fics, where we write a story about stuff that's sad, and the only purpose of writing the fic is to make the reader sad.
Is to just,
like, that's all,
just spread the sadness.
That's all it exists. Yeah, so they're like, we should add a sad tag. And then everyone started going, hey, my story has sad stuff in it. I'll put sad on it.
And it wasn't necessarily.
Just out of curiosity, when you look up fics on film for tags, how do you feel about multiple tags? Because for me, if a story has more than 3, I don't mess with it. That's like my rule. That just says
I used to have that kind of rule. I still kind of do, like, informally, like, it's a kind of a combination thing. It's not just like multiple ones, but there's certain tags which in combination.
I never thought about that.
Multiple tags. What are the bad combos? The deal breaker.
Okay, so like if you see human and romance and sad.
Oh yeah.
that's gonna suck. That's just gonna suck.
That's a recipe for disaster. I think I'm gonna have to write now. I'm gonna have to write a human, sad romance. That doesn't suck. I'll have to attempt it.
Oh, okay.
Put Roy in it for extra credit.
He is a teacher. He can do that.
I'll say I'm not a fan of the human tag either.
We had an episode on that, and it was funny because we had Jason the Human on for it, who wrote. Oh man, I'm blanking. Anthropology.
Oh.
And despite being, it is a human fic, it is under the human tag. Yeah, it would ask the question, like, what's your least favorite tag? He's like, oh, human. Just human. Because, a lot of it is just bad.
Well, the problem is that it's such easy wish fulfillment. Like, when it comes down to it, generally, I think human and romance, not always, but usually human and romance is a terrible tag combination because you know it's basically going to consist of Pony somehow ended up in our world, and then a character who may or may not be very much like me, the author, falls in love with them, and it's just stupid.
What's the really, really popular one like that? Something to do with Rainbow Dash?
Oh, My Little Dashie?
I don't think My Little Dashie falls into that category.
No, I think My Little Dashie falls into wish fulfillment. I
mean, maybe, but it's about fatherhood, not romance. I think the themes are a bit stronger than that, at least. Because it's about a guy, like, raising Rainbow Dash and not Oh, yeah, I don't know. I guess I could kind of see that, but I felt like it was a bit better than that.
A bit. We had him on, too. Guy who wrote that, whose name I don't know, but he's in my Skype contacts somewhere.
I don't remember, like, any of the... I mean, everyone has screen names. I can't remember.
You don't remember?
I'm...
You know, you remember Corey and Kavonde?
Yeah.
And...
Well, see, though, like, I remember Corey, but I don't remember
Pav.
what his screen name is. And I remember Pav because I'm mad at him every time there's not new My Little Chrono, so... I'm just bad at remembering names is all.
You're just mad at him always.
Basically. Freaking Pav. Get on. I love you, but why are you being
Get
so
on
bad?
with it! Yeah, we're kind of meandering. I don't know, is there any other thoughts before we wrap up the show?
I don't know, I think we got pretty off topic.
Well, I'm just asking, anyone have any other thoughts they want to save for posterity or whatever the word is? Posterity.
Posterity.
Can't put it.
Just anything to say?
Yeah, anything. Staring at you through the internet right now. You better say something.
I got ice cream sandwiches today.
Sandwiches suck, though.
Ice cream sandwiches are...
No,
ice cream sandwiches. Never mind.
they're
okay,
better
good.
than drumsticks.
Oh, yeah. No, I hate how, like, if you get those variety packs, they always come with, like, a bunch of drumsticks and then, like, 5 ice cream sandwiches. It's like, why?
I think drumsticks are better. That's just me. All right, then, on that sad, depressing note, it's time to end the show. So, thank you, everyone, for being on. Jub, you are a great person to have on. Casey, probably going to be seeing more of you on this show in the future. So, if you would like to follow us, we have a Twitter account where you can do that literally, or you can just like our Facebook page and do it metaphorically. You can also email us at thebronybookclub@yahoo.com if you have any comments, questions, or concerns. Next episode is going to be the big 3-0, so there's no big... We're not going to be talking about a fic, specifically next week, but we're going to be doing something... Not next week, sadly. It'll be a little bit. But we're doing something special. I know it is. Other people don't, apparently. So, looking forward to that. Everyone, it's been a blast. Say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Oh, can I have a couple of shameless shout-outs before I say adios? Just
Perfect timing.
plug some people.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, like, I want to give a shout-out to my friend and editor, Brony Fife. The guy's a genius. If you're not following Brony Fife, I'd like to know what's wrong with you. You should start doing that immediately. Twice the writer I am. Shout out to Apolline Allura, my co-writer, to Chuck Finley, also a genius. Lowercase Horizon. Yeah. I've made a couple good friends.
Brony fight for a fic that I love.
Did he? See, there you go. There it is.
Are you kidding? There's porn of us. That's an
Yes.
amazing story.
There you go. Yeah.
I love that. I talked about it on the show once.
But yeah, it's been a pleasure chatting with you guys. It's been cool.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.